Folks, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show, and joined today by a cat who is responsible for passing on the lineage of music and rhythm. Santiago Roberts, welcome back to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Great to be here again. Nice to see you again.
I just want you to talk to your musical brothers and sisters around the world about how you found your own individual sound on the kit.
I'm still working on that. Well, I would say first off, nothing's perfect. You know, nothing like I'm technically messed up if I would have been on a grid.
Right.
But right now I'm just trying to unleash. I guess for me, I started playing really young, going to jamming sessions. That really helped me out.
In Costa Rica?
In Costa Rica, and then I lived in Boston before I studied music.
Really?
Yeah, man. I was doing I've always wanted music.
Were you? I wanted to be you. I was in Austin. I was living in Austin. What part of Boston were you in?
I was in Cambridge.
Wow. Okay, so talk about those jam sessions and how they help.
Well, first off, I started playing a type of rock music and metal and stuff, which is it allows you to go a little crazy. But then we found this spot back home. It's owned by these guys. They're bikers, choppers, from California, but they used to do blues jamming sessions and rock jamming sessions and classic rock and stuff like that. So I used to go there a lot when I was about 16, 17. Then my parents it was ironic because they always supported my hobby at the time a lot. And my mom's family especially, they're very musical. My grandfather used to play the accordion, that's why I have an accordion tattooed. But then they were like, you have to study a real career first, and then if you want, you can go into music. So I got into Suffolk University in Boston. But it's Boston, dude. You have BU, you have BC, Berkeley, you have all these great music departments and jamming sessions going on. And that was real school because those guys would tell you as soon as you got off the bench and you thought you did very good, and then they were like, man, you're doing that hi-hat bullshit too much. Save it for the end of the section or whatever. So you start getting tips like that. And then one bass player, his name is Lenny Bradford, whom I just got in touch with again after like 10 years of not speaking to him.
I hope Lenny's going to see this, I hope,
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
He's on Facebook, so. He's a great guy, and he was the first guy to tell me, what are you doing here in Boston? I was like, I'm studying psychology. He's like, do you like it? I was like, yeah. Do you love it? I was like, yeah. He was like, then why are you not doing homework and you're here playing? I was like, oh shit, you got me. And he gave me a phone number of this teacher, Sergio Bellotti. He teaches at Berkeley still, great Italian player. He's amazing.
Wow.
And but he was expensive, his lessons, so I had to get this part-time job at a warehouse in a mall, setting up boxes to go to take them to different stores. So nothing pisses me off more nowadays than smelling that cheap-ass perfume at Hollister. Because you would go in with the boxes, and then this guy will come in like, hey, look at the Hollister, give me the box of it.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
But it was great, and I started taking lessons with Sergio. I never recorded anything. I never wrote notes. I would just go in there and play. I thought music schools would let you in if they saw talent. And then 2 days before my audition, Sergio went you're not getting in. I was like, wait, what? And he's like, no, man, I mean, you have talent, but there's all these other things that are required as a human being, to be a musician, a full-time musician. There's all these habits and stuff you have to get into.
Can you talk specifically about what they are?
Well, you have to be, whenever you're having a lesson, there's a lot of notes that have to be written out. There's a lot of stuff teachers might say that you're going to forget. You might understand them in the moment, but you might forget them later on. I wasn't recording the lessons, so the exercises, so, of course, if I'm showing you something, it's better if you record it, so then you can listen back to it again and record yourself doing the exercise, all these things. And then it's more like I guess it's with any other career. Like if you go into architecture, you cannot just know how to draw and be creative. There's all these other things, discipline-wise and stuff that you have to consider. But it was cool because he was like, you're probably not gonna get in, but don't get discouraged. Know this beforehand, and if this is really the path you want to take, then you're gonna have to make some serious decisions on where, what you want to do with your life. Then
And you were still doing psychology at Suffolk at this point, and working.
I was still doing psychology and working. But a friend of mine had died. We were 20 years old. He had just died. So when he died, that was a huge wake-up call for me, because I was like, okay, this clearly means that I'm not going to live, I might not live up to 80. I don't know how much time I have left. So whatever time I have left, I want to spend that time getting closer to what I really feel like doing. So I dropped out of psychology. I gave away the apartment, didn't tell my parents.
I love it.
So like
so insecure.
two weeks before I was supposed to head back, my dad is like, "Hey man, you have everything ready?" I was like, "Yeah, nope, not going back." He's like, "What do you mean you're not going back?" I was like, "No, man." And then I had to kind of give him a pep talk, like, I know there were some times in your life where you had some discrepancies with my grandfather, and yet you're here. So this is our time. So he wasn't very happy about it, but I ended up, I still took some psychology classes just for him to be a bit more relaxed, but then I dropped out again, and I was, while I was taking those psychology classes, I was also working at call centers, because I knew I had to save up money, because I pretty much told him, I'm doing this with or without you. If you want to be in,
I dig it, man.
If not, then I'm still going to do it, and at some point, I know you're going to be proud that if it doesn't happen, then that I at least tried doing my own thing. That's what you raised me for. So I'm just going to do it. So I spent a year working in call centers, saving up money. I knew the school I wanted to go. Then now it's called LA College of Music. Before it was LA Music Academy. And then, probably still not, but then their drum department was just out of this world. They had Ralph Humphrey, Joe Porcaro, Alan Serfati, Richie Gajate Garcia, teaching percussion, Steve Pemberton, Matt
How great the
Starr.
AC kicks on. You're going to talk a little bit louder. Yeah.
All these guys.
Joe Porcaro.
And Joe Porcaro. It was
The
awesome.
elder statesman, the father. The oldest Porcaro.
Yeah.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah. Joe is the best. He's one of the coolest teachers I've had. Very patient. And you have to consider that I had been playing for many years, but I was illiterate. I had no idea what a quarter note was, dude. Like when I was auditioning for, like what got me into Llama, but I'm pretty sure it was a demo and the videos of me playing, because the sight reading exercises, I had to go on YouTube and kind of learn how to sight read on the spot so I could just do the basic exercises and send them out. So Joe was very patient with me in that sense. I appreciate him a lot for that. And because he was tough when he had to be tough. I was very rudimental in that I could orchestrate fills and stuff like that, but always very rockish. So we would, on the curriculum, on the jazz curriculum at Llama, you had like these exercises I could do. Just things like that to kind of get the language of it. I wasn't doing that at first. So one day he's like, I can tell you're not practicing the curriculum, so you're dragging in this type of music, and the musicians are getting tired of playing with you.
Wow.
No one's going to want to do shit with you if you don't practice, so you might as well go home now if you're here and you're not going to do what we're telling you to do. All these things in front of everyone, so I was like, whoa, okay, I'll go practice. And then one of my happiest moments at Llama was when Joe finally was like, I'm proud of you. You've come a long way. I can see you're working. I have a good feeling about you. That was like very reassuring. But it was after the hard work.
Can you? I want you to talk. Was he proud of you because of the fact that you were incorporating the language with other people?
Yeah, and
not trying to overplay or play over people.
Yeah. Like it's just like in school also here. Like when you play, they'll let you know if you were dragging, if you were speeding up, dynamics, understanding the form, when you want to come down, when you want to go up, all these things. It's a lot at first, but then little by little you start getting a grasp of them. But bottom line is that it showed that that my mindset changed. That I was, okay, I'm here because I have to learn from these guys. I don't care if I think I'm good or not. They're better. they know better. That's why they're teachers and I'm not. So I might as well just take advantage of the time. And then they didn't have the bachelor's degree. It was the associate's degree. With an associate's degree, you get a job at McDonald's or Burger King. So that also became very clear. Like, okay, it's not the degree itself. I don't want to just pass the classes. I want to do really well so that I can actually pick on their minds and they don't have to go through basics so much with me and stuff like that. So it was just a great experience, and then being surrounded by other drummers and other musicians, and you have all sorts of classmates, people that were extremely good but didn't work that much, people that were extremely good and worked a lot, people that weren't good and they worked a lot and ended up being very good, people that weren't good and didn't work at all and they were gone. Like that school, I don't know if it's still like that, but then it had a 75% dropout rate. So it was harder. It was a lot harder to stay than actually getting in. So that was it was just a great experience for me in that sense.
I wanted to ask you about from last year to this year. Why did you come back to the rhythm retreat? I mean, obviously you're doing multiple roles, but as a student, as somebody who's always learning, what have you brought? How have you grown since last year?
I would say a lot, man, because I realized that the second year there were a lot of things that I learned on the first year that really helped me out. So it's just.
What did you learn the first year?
Well, the first year. It was interesting because I was expecting more of a technical approach to playing the instrument itself, and it ended up being more like a sociological thing. And it was really like
I did.
Psychological. Like, if you're gonna play from the ego, do you want people to know you're good, or you want to have enough strength in your head to pull back and simplify and just make others sound good, and all these things, like play for the music. I remember. Now that you asked me about Bruno, I remember when we filmed that Bruno video, Bruno was doing this trick with the cymbal.
Yep.
And it sounded good, but then because he tried to do it again, he messed up the form. So
and that's what you were telling him about.
I was telling him
I dig
that.
that.
You cannot sacrifice what you're trying to accomplish because you get distracted with individualities. So I don't know. And I toured with these guys also as Billy's drum tech. With this band,
Crosswinds,
and with the Crosswinds band, and they're just insane. They're just amazing.
What can you talk about how they all inspire you to serve the music?
Well,
I mean, is that what you get off about them about? I mean, because it's
and it's being with Billy a lot. Like Billy, he can get very chaotic and stuff, but he's a serious groove player. And
you're damn right.
I remember there was one very cool thing that Billy told these guys. We were at Yoshi's in Oakland, and this was one of the first shows from that tour. And he told them, like, guys, you're definitely amongst the best players in the world. So you might be very used to having to cover up for people. Don't do that here. So don't cover up for everyone. Like, just give each other space and let each other work, and it's gonna groove. And it was very cool for me to see also how them being them and having so much experience, they were cool with it. There was no like, I'm here because I'm so good or whatever. Like, all of them were cool with it. And it was just it was so much fun to see them work and see that, like, I get to hang out with them a lot after the shows and stuff. So they're buddies now, and I ask a lot of questions as if they were friends. They are friends. So it's just sometimes you don't have to expect too much of what you're gonna learn, and just be there and allow the circumstances to improvise and show you whatever the circumstances have to show you, but you have to be willing to absorb that. Because what if I would have been expecting to learn something and then I didn't learn that specific thing, then I go back home thinking I didn't learn anything. But it's because I wasn't paying attention to the rest.
I mean, this has been a week-long retreat. It continues on, but we were talking off camera yesterday about methodologies of teachers in your home of Costa Rica and how the ego gets in the way a lot of the time because the teacher winds up teaching the student, and the student winds up sounding exactly like the teacher.
Yeah.
And I wanted you to just talk, as you grow as a musician, what are the most important teaching components that you will infuse with your students in the future, so that they will walk out with their own individual sound and not be wanking it like their teacher?
Well, first off, straight up from the first class, I always tell them, like, I'm going to show you things, but I learned some of these things because I had a lot of different teachers, including my computer, including
Really?
records, so there's always, you have to be constantly doing the research. And it's like science. Science is never going to move forward unless someone questions something and keeps moving. Billy would have never developed his style if he wouldn't question his teacher, who was trying to have him play like this. He's like, no, I want to play like this. And then it happened.
Right.
So it's just like there's no set way of doing things. That you always have to find your own voice, because then for me as a teacher, it also gets boring if, like, I want to see them doing their own stuff, because then that's when I'm proud, and that's what, like, I don't know if you were there when Billy was saying he was talking about this kid who approached him like, hey, I can do a Dave Weckl solo, and he played a Dave Weckl solo note by note, which is great, but it's like,
No, that was in our interview yesterday. He's like, I'm not interested to hear. I don't want to hear Weckl. I want to hear you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
How do you draw? What are the things that, if you're talking to people around the world, what do they need to draw out of themselves in order to lose themselves and really be themselves?
Well, first off, I agree a lot with Dom when he says that technique usually gets in the way of expression.
Yeah.
So you really have to focus on how you're drawing the sounds out, so you can have that control of what you want to do. You have to spend a lot of time with the instrument and to move around and stuff, and just understand the instrument so you can talk through it. Of course, like if I don't learn how to enunciate each letter individually and then how to pronounce the words and stuff like that, the way I'm going to talk is probably going to be weird. So you have to understand that it's a language. You're learning the letters, then the vowels and all this stuff, then the syllables, and then the words, then how they can be combined. And then if you're speaking reggae, if you're speaking jazz, if you're speaking metal, all of them, they're dialects. They're really dialects. Like in Africa, one thing, I was there for 5 months some years back, and I was very touched with like how they...
What part of Africa?
I was in Ghana.
Wow.
I was village hopping over there. And they imitate proverbs with the drums. So Santiago. So
Right.
something like
Right.
that concept.
That's right.
So then it really makes you think, like, why is it perceived so much as a non-melodic instrument when it's very melodic if you want it to be that way. Just see Billy play and how he sets up and stuff. It's almost like as if he's playing marimba with the drums. It's quite awesome, actually. So
It's okay.
We got to pick one up. Thanks.
Yeah. No. Well, Tim Landers is here. But
yeah, it's like you have to. I remember Dean last year. He said something really cool. That is, you have to work on your craftsmanship to get to the artisanship stage. So you have to work on your craft a lot first, and then you become an artist. And you can be an artist working on your craft, but always with that in mind that it's a process. We can go outside if you want, so we can.
Grab my lunch here.
Sorry, man.
No, it's your gig, man.
That's for today.
And I just, when I hear you play, it seems like the music is coming through you, and I just would like you to talk about an experience on the bandstand when you left your physical body on the bandstand.
I'd say that depends on who you're playing with too.
Absolutely.
Because if it's players, if they're players, not to say that I'm not any better than anyone. It's just But sometimes when you're playing with people that they are doing that it's just there's a good chemistry and you don't have to think about things too much or this guy's dragging so I have to or whatever or where you don't have to like help him climb up the ladders or whatever, then those moments are really great.
So it's about trust.
It's
but
about
I want to know
trust,
about
yeah,
I mean, I don't care if it was a metal setting or a jazz. But
Yeah.
talk about a particular setting when Billy talked to me about in our second interview, being with Mahavishnu at the end of a tour and just being physically exhausted and literally seeing himself on the side of the stage.
Yeah,
even though he was playing drums.
I remember that.
Do you have something like that go down? Can you talk a little bit? I'm just trying to get to the spiritual quality of music.
Okay, the spiritual quality, I guess, it's really, for me, it has started to happen a lot more when I'm really working on not think of rhythms and think of phrases, intensity, music, and then I have to get in touch with my emotions too. If I'm happy, I'm gonna play differently. If I'm angry or if I'm pissed, like I don't care how it comes across, but whatever happens, it has to come from that. I had an amazing teacher, Tony Salacco. I don't know if you know him.
I know the name.
He's
Yeah.
a badass drummer, Italian, New Yorker drummer. He lived in Germany for a long time and worked with Horace Silver, Oscar Peterson, a bunch of people. And he would always say, like, everything has to come from the spirit. If you asked him, like, how can you tell, like, what moves you in a drummer? And he's like, his face. If I see his face,
It's a lock.
whatever, then it gives you, it has to be an emotional thing. That's what music is made for. They were saying it there. The music is the sound of feelings. You really have to get in touch with them to, and learn. There's an interesting thing, what I was saying before about the dialects with music. Someone who listens to reggae might tend to be a bit happier than someone who's always listening to death metal or punk and stuff like that. So you have to kind of act it out in a way, and then by acting it out, you kind of understand why that phrasing happens that way. So not only you're able to express your own feelings, but you're able to identify with someone else's feelings and enhance them. Because I know that if we're playing metal, they want it to be pissed. I'm not going to be feathering the bass drum or something like that.
Absolutely not.
So you have to.
But you actually have to be worked into an emotion of being agitated.
For sure. You have to figure out how to. It's like being an actor. You have to figure out how you're gonna relate to the script.
Authentically.
Yeah, how you're gonna interpret it and all these things.
Santiago, much love to you, man.
Sure.
I know you gotta get back to work here, but it's always an honor to see you, and I look forward to seeing you
Thank
grow.
you, man. It's always great to see you as
Only as a
well.
musician and a leader as well. So thank you.
Awesome, man.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.